I'm Greg Fossilman Raymer. Have you ever found yourself in a spot where you're agonizing over whether or not you should call an opponent's pre-flop raise? Of course you have. And while there's no exact formula that can tell you when it's right to call and when it's right to fold, we're going to offer you some guidelines that should help simplify your decisions. The most important thing to understand when you're facing a pre-flop raise is that in order to call, you need to be holding a much stronger hand than you would be holding if you were the player making the original raise. Poker players call this the gap concept. Why is this? Because when your opponent raises, especially from early position, they're telling you they're holding a strong hand of their own. So how do you decide if your hand is strong enough to call with? First, ask yourself this simple question. If my opponent hadn't raised, would I have raised with this hand on my own? If the answer is yes, then calling your opponent's raise might be correct. If the answer is no, then you definitely should fold. The next things to consider are your position and how your hand is likely to play against your opponent's likely range of hands. If you're in position against a loose, aggressive opponent, you can probably play more hands since their range is so wide. But against a tighter opponent, or if you're out of position, you should usually play only stronger starting hands, primarily premium hands, like big pairs and ace-king and ace-queen. Finally, if your hand is strong enough to call with, you need to determine if it isn't better to re-raise with instead. If you're holding a premium hand of your own, then the answer is yes, of course it is. But on the other hand, if you're holding a smaller pair or a solid but non-premium hand like ace-jack, the answer should probably be no, unless you're partially bluffing with this hand. For example, let's say you're in late position with pocket nines and are facing a pre-flop raise from an opponent in early position. What should you do?